Hello and welcome to the third of our inaugural launch events in the Jewelers Resource Center, brought to you by the Plum Club. My name is Lawrence Hess, the Plum Club's Executive Director, and I will be your moderator today. Before moving on to today's presentation, Game Changers, Shifts Affecting Retail, which will be followed by a scavenger hunt for thousands of dollars worth of prizes, such as Dom Perignon champagne, Godiva chocolate baskets, in-store training, and expert website analysis, I would like to take 5 minutes to tell you about the Jewelers Resource Center. The Jewelers Resource Center is a groundbreaking and useful exploration tool and reference guide that is easy to use, totally discoverable, immersive, and at your fingertips 365 days a year. Best of all, it is provided free to the entire jewelry industry by the Plum Club. Rather than having you listen to me go on and on, here is a short video tour of the Jewelers Resource Center. Let me just get that on for you.
Welcome to the Jewelers Resource Center, a groundbreaking virtual learning and meeting platform that gives access to business resources, suppliers, and valuable jewelry information in a variety of learning formats. Plus, it's easy to use, searchable, discoverable, and at your fingertips 24/7, 365 days a year. Let's take a look to see all the ways you can use this groundbreaking virtual platform. First, we will visit the viewing room, which leads to an archive of easy-to-access visual learning content, training, webinars, and educational videos. Scroll through the range of options and learn away. Whether you want to watch the latest webinar series from the Plum Club or search through the archive of additional videos, you're bound to find something to pique your interest. If you look across to the other side of the atrium, you'll find the doors to the Plum Club Auditorium. Upon entering the auditorium, you can take a seat to virtually attend live industry events as they happen. You can also gather insight from helpful visual presentations and participate in timely Plum Club webinars, essential to your business needs. In fact, we plan to have exciting events here throughout the year to keep you updated on all of the newest information you need. With a simple click of your mouse, you can go back out to the Resource Center and access other areas like the sourcing room. Do you need specific services for your store? Source provides access to a plethora of qualified service providers for everything from accounting services to business equipment, diamond setters, web development, and more. The Jewelers Resource Center is literally jam-packed with information that helps you do business on a daily basis. For example, need factual info on foreign finger sizing, gem lore, or hardness? Just next door, you can visit the Reference Center, an online reference library where the most pertinent information can be accessed with the click of a mouse. Here you can view metal prices updated daily, as well as search through a detailed collection of charts, tables, documents, and easy access links to find useful information on topics ranging from diamonds and metals to FTC guidelines. It's truly a one-stop resource for helpful information curated from an array of important and vetted industry sources. Stay up to date with daily industry news, headlines, and cover stories in the newsroom, displaying a live news feed provided by In-Store Magazine. And it's not just showcasing what's impacting the industry now. Are you looking for a historic article or something more specific? Just click on the search bar to access archive stories and articles. In the Jewelers Resource reading area, you can research a plethora of written editorials and timely articles on pertinent topics such as sales training, in-store designing, and consumer insights, all written by known industry sources. Scroll through press releases and trend stories to stay current on consumer opinion that is shaping the jewelry industry and your sales. Next, TPC 365 is going to take you to the listening area, where you can access auditory learning opportunities via podcasts exclusively made for the Plum Club. They provide insights and ideas from leading industry experts and can be easily downloaded, giving you the ability to listen at your own convenience. Onward we go to the meeting rooms, which were initially made within the Jewelers Resource Center to be used for presentation and webinar breakout sessions, or for virtual meetings directly with the Plum Club. However, we are always looking for new great ideas to connect with the industry. And of course, What would jewelry sales in your store be without the product? Our member group of world-class manufacturers and suppliers are right upstairs. Looking for a specific style, a new vendor, or a new collection? Explore any of the Plum Club member companies by visiting their showroom, where you can learn about the company and see what they have to offer you and your store. You have the choice to scroll through the company listings or search items by specific jewelry categories. With over 50 members to choose from, they are conveniently displayed alphabetically, allowing you to easily find style information by brand or collection. Let's take a closer look by going directly to one of our beautifully designed member showrooms. Upon entering the virtual showroom, you will have instant access to everything the brand has to offer, including their collections, current marketing campaigns, and more. You can even set up a virtual appointment with a dedicated sales rep. It's like walking directly into their brand headquarters without ever having to step outside. See how easy it is? Take advantage of this immersive and interactive, simple to navigate virtual resource center, offering you instant access to everything related to jewelry information, right at your fingertips, whenever you need it, and wherever you are. Virtual is the future of business, and the future is the Jewelers Resource Center at TPC 365, provided to the industry by the Plum Club.
Okay. Hopefully I'm not muted. All right. So now that you know about the Jewelers Resource Center, let's move on to today's exciting presentation, Game Changers, Shifts Affecting Retail. And don't forget, following the presentation, any retailers attending today can take part in our scavenger hunt for thousands of dollars worth of prizes. I will be giving you full details right after the presentation. So before we introduce our guests, let me introduce our guests. Hi, everyone. So to begin, Trace Shelton. Trace began writing for In-Store, a business publication for retail jewelers, in 2003. I'm sure you all have heard of it before. And he joined the team full-time in August of 2004. He was named editor-in-chief of the sister publication In Design in 2007 and became editor-in-chief of In-Store in 2016. Before coming to work for In-Store, Trace spent 6 years as a marketing consultant for independent retailers. He has a BA and an MA in English from Texas A&M University, and he lives with his wife in the Austin, Texas area. Kate Peterson. Kate has over 40 years experience in the business world in every capacity of sales, management, operations, and training in companies ranging from 1 to 1,000 locations. She held senior operations and training executive positions for a variety of top retailers before founding Performance Concepts in 1998. Along with her Performance Concepts team, Kate provides training and business consultation services to retailers, manufacturers, and trade organizations worldwide. Next, we have Alex Schlindwein. Alex, I hope I said that right. Alex is a third-generation jeweler who serves as the marketing director for her family business, Kuiper Jewelers, a 2-store chain in Tampa, Florida. Over the past few years, under her marketing guidance, the company has revamped their website, lowered purchase barriers for e-commerce, and augmented the online customer experience. As early adapters to new technology, they have also concentrated on social media tactics across various platforms to develop community and drive sales. The overwhelming result has been a tripling of sales. Prior to joining family business, Alex held positions at Sherry Dory and Diodori Bridal and The Vow. Next, we have Suzanne Martinez. So Suzanne is a highly credentialed senior gemologist, jewelry appraiser, jewelry historian, and co-owner of Lang, which opened in San Francisco in 1969. Under her guidance, the company has benefited from the early adoption of e-commerce, human resource cross-training, social media, email, and virtual communication, which has resulted in Lang becoming one of the most renowned estate jewelers in the world, growing substantially in the past few years despite the pandemic. The company also donates a portion of every sale to the wide variety of charitable causes that addresses food insecurity, homelessness, and support of diversity. So let's see now. Give me 1 second here. So for our format today, each of our panelists will provide a short presentation on their thoughts regarding today's topic of shifts that have affected retail. We also hope to provide you with real tactics and takeaways that you can implement in your business today. These presentations are designed to inform, but they're also meant to encourage questions from you, our audience. On your screen, you should be able to see a Q&A button, and at any time during the presentations, please enter questions you may have. If your question is directed towards a specific panelist, please enter their name followed by your question. If it is just a general question, which is quite all right, there is no name needed. Note that we will be holding all questions until all the presentations are completed. So without further ado, Trace, if you'd unmute yourself and take the stage.
Thanks so much, Lawrence. It's really an honor to be here, especially with you and our great group of panelists. When In-Store launched in January of 2002, Keystone was still the benchmark for retail diamond margins. A shift towards standalone superstores and high traffic locations was all the rage. The only social networking sites at that time were Classmates, 6 Degrees, and Rise. Remember those? Me neither. Socially speaking, the measure of an engagement ring was simple. How large was the diamond? My, how things change. Today, most retailers are happy to get a 40% margin on loose diamonds, but they do much better on custom design mountings, which works out because today's jewelry customer, primarily millennials, almost always wants something unique. While the physical location of a store is still important, its website is generally more critical for building traffic. And a variety of social networking sites allow consumers to communicate with and compare notes on retailers more than ever before. Not only that, but in-store shipped to about 50% more doors 20 years ago. We've lost close to 10,000 retail jewelry stores since the early 2000s. I recently did a story for our 20th anniversary issue in January on the disruptive forces that have shaped jewelry retailing over the last 2 decades. And I truly believe that the business has changed more drastically over the past 10 years than any decade I can think of before that. In my view, this is due to 6 primary factors, which I'm about to go through in no particular order. Number 1, e-commerce. Once viewed as a threat to brick and mortar stores, e-commerce is now a healthy and complementary revenue stream to walk-in traffic. Online jewelry sales have increased 12 to 15% a year over the past 15 years, according to Stoller's Harold Dupay, except for 2020 when it increased 25%. Smart retailers know that they have to be online with their offerings. Number 2, millennial shoppers. Born between 1981 and 1996, this is the first generation to have grown up totally immersed in a world of digital technology. As such, they prefer to communicate digitally. Moreover, they enjoy being part of an experience, which is why custom design appeals to them, and they love to have something unique. The youngest millennials turned 21 in 2017, so we're now seeing a transition to Gen Z in the bridal space, yet millennials are still the largest cohort influencing retail trends. Number 3, lab-grown diamonds. While the first diamond was created in a lab in 1953, it was lab-grown diamond growers like Diamond Foundry, which was founded in 2012, that figured out how to make gem-quality diamonds more efficiently and on a larger scale. According to a report from the Antwerp World Diamond Center, it cost $4,000 per carat to produce a CVD-grown diamond in 2008. By 2018, just 10 years later, that cost was just $300 to $500. Coincidentally, 2018 was also the year that De Beers launched its Lightbox imprint to sell lab-grown diamonds. At In-Store, we hear from more retailers every month that their customers are walking in and asking about lab-grown diamonds. No matter what happens in the future, this product is absolutely disrupting the diamond trade. Number 4, social media. If referrals are the number 1 driver of new business for jewelry retailers, and social media provides a space for people to refer their family and friends en masse, then it's easy to see why social media has been so disruptive to retailing. It's interesting to realize that Facebook was only launched in 2004, and Instagram wasn't launched until 2012. By 2015, Facebook was seeing 1 billion users in a single day. Social media has been a blessing and a curse to retailers, providing a low-cost way to reach a huge number of target consumers yet also revealing any warts in the business as consumers shared reviews. Number 5, custom/unique jewelry demand. Is the movement towards unique and customized jewelry a natural evolution of consumer preference? Does it have to do with the fundamental differences between millennials and previous generations? Or is it due to advances in technology that allow the custom process to be completed both more quickly and more affordably? Regardless of the answer, today's consumer does want jewelry unique to them, whether it's custom, estate, or designer jewelry, or even customized, where you're taking a piece of jewelry and just customizing it slightly for the consumer. This offers opportunities to jewelers to become even closer to their clientele and to make more money doing it. And finally, number 6, digital clienteling tools. One of the core questions of being a jewelry retailer has always been, how do I get my clients to come back? In the early days of in-store, we ran many articles and columns on the subject of how to convince engagement ring buyers to return and buy more jewelry over the course of their lives. Today, thanks to technology like video conferencing, website chat, review platforms, and even simple phone texting, reconnecting with clients is astoundingly easy. While Zoom launched in 2012, 2020 was the year of Zoom, as the pandemic forced all of us into the virtual space. And Podium, which is a tool for jewelers to connect with their clients virtually, the valuation in 2021 was announced at $3 billion, which was up from just 1.5 billion a year before. So it doubled in just a year from 2020 to 2021. So clearly people love to communicate digitally. And now I will pass the torch back to Lawrence, who will introduce Kate, who's forgotten more about these subjects than I will ever know.
Thank you, Trace. Really appreciate that. Some great information. And Kate, we will hand it right on over to you to continue on. And I'm sure you'll be able to add some more insight.
Well, Trace, I think that was a compliment. I'm not real sure. You mentioned that first issue of In-Store Magazine, and as you know, from that 20th anniversary issue, I also wrote a column in that issue, and it was a kind of a retrospective because I was around back for that first issue of In-Store Magazine, and those real deal columns, as real as they are, have been happening all that way back. So, it's easy to look now at the last 2 years and to see that, a lot has changed in the past 2 years. I'm going to come back to that. But this evolution has really been going on for quite some time. I know that there's a lot of you out there who probably remember, like I do, back in the days when all jewelry advertising was targeted to men and run in places like Sports Illustrated magazine and other things like that. At what point did we kind of wake up and realize that we were really selling to women, regardless of who was paying? That was a shift. That was a dramatic shift, and it changed the way we started to look at the consumer and look at marketing. Back when we got so used to the baby boomer customers and the way the baby boomers behaved. I mean, there are very clear differences in the way each generation as consumers behave, from the traditionalists through the boomers into the millennials and now into Gen Z. And we were all kind of expecting, I think, that this change between the baby boomers and Gen Z was going to be this kind of nice, slow curve, and we'd be able to adapt and modify things. Didn't happen that way. And I think a lot of folks remember that, where instead of being that nice, slow curve, it was a sharp turn. And all of a sudden, people were just behaving differently. And in a retail store, you just didn't know what to do with these customers that were coming in, that were asking for different things and behaving differently. It was kind of crazy that way. But what we're seeing now, and one of the things that we tell our clients is, if you're still chasing millennials, truth be told, you're 5 years behind, and you really need to start catching up here, because the generation that's coming up behind them, those Gen Z shoppers and consumers, are behaving completely differently still again. A classic example of this is, up and through the millennials, the average age of the bridal consumer, the first-time bridal consumer in the United States, had been escalating significantly throughout the years, to the point where it was about 28 for the bride and about 30 for the groom for first timers. And that, of course, varies regionally, but in places like San Francisco, as I'm sure Suzanne can attest, it's much higher than that even. It's what's happening now, though, with the Gen Z consumers is, retailers, you have to recognize this, I'm sure, you're seeing much younger people coming in for that engagement ring. And they're coming in prepared. 22, 24-year-olds are getting ready to get engaged. That didn't happen with their 5 years older siblings. If anyone has a 30-year-old and a 25-year-old in the same house, they behave like two completely different species. Okay. And a lot of that, as consumers especially, and a lot of that has to do with just what's gone on in their lives in that time. For those of you who are looking at those younger customers and worrying about whether that's going to impact average tickets and things like that, yeah, it's going to, and they're going to keep going up. These are folks that are walking into the consumer marketplace already earning more money than their siblings had before them, and walking into better situations work-wise, especially now. But in addition, something interesting happened in the United States back in 1995 that most folks are not quite paying attention to, and we should be. 1995 was the year that the 529 plans went into effect around the country. Congress authorized the 529 plans. For those of you who don't know what that means, it means that those folks that are 25, 26 years old now entering the bridal market are walking in with significantly less college debt on average than their predecessors. Okay, that's why we're seeing higher spending and younger people, which gives you a longer consumer lifespan. But back to those millennials again, looking at that and saying, okay, if we've got a 28-year-old bride and a 30-year-old groom, I don't know too many 28-year-old women who are going to take an engagement ring from a guy that hasn't bought him a birthday present yet. So we've got to back up the ponies here. That bridal sale that we all were groomed to believe was the first big ticket, that the first entry into fine jewelry, isn't anymore. If you're not capturing them for fashion, for gifts before they're ready for the engagement ring, you're having to rebuy them all over again. Those are just some of the things that have changed. Now, we look at the way things have changed over the past 10 years, and I tend to look at retailers business owners in general, businesses in general, in three groups. There are those who have been consistently ahead of their time. These are forward-thinking risk takers, sometimes to the point of appearing reckless to others. They operate on a strategy that kept them agile and prepared no matter what happened in the consumer market, no matter what happened in the employment market. These are the businesses that have made things happen. Second group, you look at are those who have had a lot of good ideas over the years, but who really have just not ever executed all that well. They've never found time to do it. They've never quite gotten around to it, or they were willing to let someone else be first in the water. I don't want to jump in first. I'll let someone else jump in first, and then maybe I'll see how it goes. Well, we kind of look at those as the people who watch things happen. And then in the third group, those people in our industry in particular who have been so tightly bound to the way they've always done things that they can't get out of their own way. And these are the folks that, they see every change in consumers and employees as being temporary. Like sooner or later, everything's going to go back to the way it was. And they stay bound to key processes that hobble them. They stay about 10 years behind the times, waiting for things to get back to normal. Those are the businesses who stand around wondering what happened. So everybody has to make a decision. And if you look at those categories and what's happened in the last couple of years, you see that the people who were ahead of the time and who really were that agile and who really were that willing to just step out and have things ready, no one could have foreseen what was coming. But there are businesses who really looked at that and said, yeah, we need to be prepared no matter what happens. This consumer is going to keep changing. We're all very different people now than we were even 2 years ago. We have different values. Things are different to all of us, employees, customers, all of ourselves. We're looking at things differently. What's important to us is different. Family, time, balance, all of the things that to an employee matter differently now. To the consumer, again, very different things matter. Instead of, well, maybe I shouldn't, what we're hearing now is, why not? So there are so many things that have changed industry-wide and so many things that have changed from a social standpoint that retailers really need to be ready for when we look at things like digital and being a part of social media and looking at the way you're marketing and communicating. All of those things are critical, but they're all rooted in behavioral changes for both employees and customers that have to work in concert or none of it works. Lawrence, back to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Kate. I appreciate that. We're going to mute you and then we will move on to Alex. Why don't you unmute yourself and jump right in? We'll get a nice little, we'll get a perspective now from a couple of the retailers that are out there. So Alex, why don't you start from the retail perspective?
All right, great. Well, first of all, just thanks for having me on this. This is a huge honor to be a part of. Kate and Trace have done a great job, I think, setting this up, and hopefully I can help give some real takeaways, not only as a retailer, but as a millennial. But also I did have some experience in the vendor side of things, the jewelry business too. So hopefully I can help like tie this all together, and what does this really mean for everybody? And I think like the main points here are that the move to digital, it's not going anywhere. It's just going to keep getting amplified. And the faster you get on the bandwagon, the better. And, you know, I think about like the early 2000s, we were at jewelry shows talking about if we needed a website and if we needed a Facebook page. And nowadays it's like, you basically don't exist today if you don't have a Facebook page or a website. And that's how this is going to be for all the other things that have been brought up, like all the social platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and they're going to continue to change too. So I think the biggest thing is being able to be flexible and being able to adapt quickly to changes. And don't worry so much about getting it right. You know, it's like, I think we all worry about what it looks like and if it's polished and everything, but your customers want to see the raw you. They want to hear the real behind the scenes. And that's what Gen Z actually likes best, is they want things that don't seem so overly edited. And there's a lot of studies out there that show that Gen Z is actually the most educated consumer as far as before they go through the shopping process, but also they're the most aware of advertising, but they want to make buying decisions based on their favorite influencer or their favorite TikToker. So they're not going to pay attention to that magazine ad, but they're going to pay attention to that TikTok video. So it's just really interesting how things have changed. And you know, I think that there's really no excuse why we can't participate in that form of marketing and advertising. And I'm a big believer of doing things in-house, especially when it comes to content creation. That's the great thing that we got to focus on during the pandemic. Was I got to go into a full-time marketing role for the company. And I think that's really helped us get this ROI that we've been getting on our marketing. And we have tripled our website business specifically since the pandemic, but some of the things were in the works before the pandemic. We did rebuild our website just before it. So we were ahead of the game on that a little bit, which was great. Now I will say that before the pandemic, we were going from like a couple website sales a year, so basically nothing, to a couple web sales even a week, or sometimes even a day during the holidays. So that's what it looks like. It all takes time. Of course, there's no magic bullet. What worked for us is not going to work for everybody. And I am constantly trying new things and just seeing what works. And especially when it comes to content creation, I like to follow lots of other content creators, especially in the jewelry space, to get ideas, but you have to find your voice and your identity. And if that person can't be you, then find someone who it can be. And I think this is such a great opportunity that jewelers can give to, you know, that up and coming, this Gen Z just coming out of college. And you could even hire them in as an intern and just see how it goes. Just give someone a chance, and you never know what that could turn into. But I'm a big believer of doing as much of you as you can in-house, but also knowing where your strengths and weaknesses are. Like for me, SEO is not my strength, and SEO is extremely important today as it was 10 years ago, and it will continue to be important. Everybody Googles and checks reviews and all that stuff before they go to a business as well. So make sure that you've got that in line. Podium has already been talked about, which is the tool that we use to build that up for ourselves. But, you know, make sure that you trust someone to do it. So I outsource my SEO. So whatever your thing is that you have to outsource, that's fine. But then always having someone in-house that can keep an eye on it. And I'm constantly in contact with my contact that oversees our SEO. So just things like that. I just want to say a quick word for thanking my parents, because it's a family business, but my parents have always believed in me and given me the freedom to be creative in this space. And they've given me the resources and even backed it up financially. And now it's paid off. But a lot of the things that I did flopped, and haven't paid off, and that's okay. And they just know, like, okay, try something different. And I don't think that we're there yet in any sense of that word, but we just continue to move forward and just keep trying to push the envelope. Another big advice that I have is, we're kind of the trailblazers in a lot of different technology and different things to come to the jewelry industry. Which has sometimes not worked out great for us because we're the guinea pig and we find all the kinks in the systems. But I highly recommend to find partners that integrate with your tech stack, if you will. So basically, finding other companies that integrate with your point of sale system, with your web developer. You want to find like cohesiveness, but you also want to find companies that are going to continue to update their technology with the change in the trends too. So I do a lot of research before I decide when I want to partner with someone. I want names of specific jewelers that they work with currently, and I want to call those jewelers and talk about what were the bumps in the roads and what worked with this software before I implement it. And that's helped a lot, but I had to learn that lesson the hard way. So, and then I just want to say a quote that like always sticks with me that my dad says actually, is the best time to start something was 20 years ago, and the second best time to start is today. So it's never too late. If you're sitting here listening, like your head's spinning, I have no idea what all this stuff means, I don't want to be on TikTok, whatever your objection is right now, just know it's never too late to just give it a try and see where it goes. So yeah.
Awesome, Alex. That was great. It's funny. So just first, and for anybody out there that may not know, SEO means search engine optimization. A lot of us know it, a lot of us might not, but actually just one comment, you mentioned about, the failures and so on. Last week we had a speaker and he said that some of the people who have some of the best digital presences right now also had some of the biggest failures their first time out. So clearly, it is okay to fail to succeed. So great comments. So now, thank you for that information. If you'll mute yourself, we'll move on to Suzanne, and you can bring us into the home stretch, and then we'll head into the questions and answers. We already have several. So go ahead, Suzanne.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here with all these wonderful speakers. And they set the stage for what I wanted to talk about, which is really the customer experience on a website. And it's all about managing the customer's expectations before they even get to your website. They're already shopping on your website. So what does your website tell them about your store and what the experience is going to be like, whether they actually visit your store or they're buying online? What do they want to know? First, your website has to be up to date. It's critical. If they go on the website and they can't find information easily and they can't navigate it easily, they're going to leave. And so you want to make it as responsive as possible. And in our store, 65% of our customers come to us using their mobile device. So you have to be responsive. Your website has to be responsive to mobile. And that's critical because all the people that Alex was talking about, all the younger people, that's how they're going to be coming to you. So all the new customers. So digital optimization is really important. So then once you have the ability to communicate with your customer on your website, what are they looking for on your website? So they want to know about you. So they want to know about your store's vision. They want to figure out your brand based on what your website looks like, the imagery on it, how easy it is to navigate, whether you talk about your staff, whether you talk about your maybe you do support all different kinds of organizations, whether they're in our industry or outside of our industry. They really want to know what your culture is and who you are. And then they also want to know about the jewelry. So where does the jewelry come from? Is it sustainably sourced? Is it the metals? Where are the metals from? All these questions the customer wants to be able to answer before they even talk to you or get into your store. So they're doing all their own research. And one of the things that we have done on our website that has been really effective is We are now, all of our diamonds come with a GI lab report if they're a carat or above, and a lot of colored stone, all our colored stones down to even a half a carat if we sell antique and estate jewelry. So as an example, we might have a piece that has a half carat, beautiful Burmese ruby that is from Mogok that is untreated. So we want to tell the story. That's how we start the story. And of course, our customer's journey to buying a piece of jewelry is creating their story with our store or any store and the jewelry. So every little bit of information you can pass on along the way. So these are really important things. They want to know what all the relevant information is. They want to know who made the jewelry. Do you have a designer in-house? Do you have jewelers in-house actually making it? So they want to know all this information. And your transparency is critical. So you have to be transparent with all this information. So the more factors that you can give them and start creating this, they're creating their story by learning all this information. And so it begins before they even come into the store. So one of the things that we've done to facilitate the purchase at the other end is we've created a concierge style appointment. And so we've taken the images once they've contacted us and they tell us the items that they're interested in looking at, and we'll create a collection for them that includes other jewelry. So when they come into the store and have an appointment, or if it's a virtual appointment, we have a collection just for them to look at. If they do come in the store, we have a dedicated showcase area. So they're coming and that is their showcase. And it's just been wonderful. They don't have to come to the store 3 or 4 times. And they can, usually the sale is closed by the client and the sales professional. They work in tandem together. And so our job has been to continue on that journey of creating a customer's story, because I think that story is something that is from the day one when people started adorning themselves. It's all about the story. Everybody remembers where they got that their favorite piece of jewelry and what was the story around it. So that's one of the things that I'd like to impart is you really have to start with your website and make sure that you are giving your customer all the tools they need to start their story. Thank you.
All right. Well, I love the idea of going into I'm just thinking about it, jewelry store anywhere, going in and having my own curated place that's made just for me based on what I want. All right. So thank you very much. So that was quite a bit of information. Give me 1 second here. All right. So that was quite a bit of information, and the best is yet to come, as we do have quite a few of interesting questions. And don't forget, right after the Q&A, I will tell you how to join our scavenger hunt to win $1,000 worth of prizes, such as Dom Perignon champagne, Godiva chocolate baskets, in-store training, and expert website analysis. So let me switch on over to gallery view so you can see all of our panelists. Just remember, as I ask you questions or as they come up, to unmute yourself or mute yourself or so on. So I'm going to go with the first question we had here, which was, and I guess, Trace, you had mentioned a couple of things in your presentation. So this one's for you. What are you seeing from your readers in 2022 in terms of how they plan to build on their success from the past 2 years?
Yeah, that's an interesting one because obviously jewelry retailers did much better over the last 2 years than I think anyone foresaw when the pandemic began. And now, that travel is opening back up again and things like this, people are a little bit leery about, will the gains continue? So far they have. And I believe they will continue because it seems to me that a lot of people have rediscovered the meaning behind jewelry and how much value it can have to people. And so then what can jewelers do about that? We had a great column that you'll see in our April issue by Vince Rath of Optimum Retail Solutions about clienteling. So you have all these new customers that have come into your store now over the last 2 years. Now your challenge is to continue to capitalize on those customers. and keep them coming back. So that's where clienteling comes in, and the digital tools that we talked about briefly before. One of the things that retailers can do is called marketing automation. So once you have someone in your database and you know what they bought, you can funnel them into various channels that, for example, if they bought a particular necklace or a particular ring, well, now they might be in the market for something that matches, or they might be in the market for an anniversary gift or a birthday gift, or et cetera, on down. And so you set up this marketing system that will, at the appropriate time, send out a message to these customers, whether it's via text or via email, to, invite them back in to see something that relates to what they purchased before, or something that you think they might like, a particular offer. And so these things can now be set up. A marketing expert by the name of Jim Ackerman gave me a wonderful tutorial on this about 2 years ago. And it's just amazing what can be done now. And it just takes a little time on your part to set those things up, and make sure that they're getting the correct messages at the right times, and then manage it, and off you go. And that's how people like to be communicated with, as I mentioned before, is digitally.
Okay, now great answer. So Alex, I think this one's for you here. And it said you had mentioned pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, during pandemic. So the question here is, what shifts did you make in your business during the pandemic that have lasted?
Okay, sure. So there's definitely some shifts that didn't last that I think we all did, like curbside delivery and stuff like that. No one cares about that anymore. But the ones that did last, I would say, just how we used our shutdown time. We were shut down for about 6 weeks, and we still were coming into the store every day and trying to just get done whatever we could get done. But one of the main projects we worked on during that time was taking high quality pictures of all of our inventory, specifically using the Pickup Media Gem Light Box. If you have that, it is amazing that anyone on our team, no matter what age they were, could take a good photo of our jewelry using that. And we all pitched in on this project, including our estate jewelry, which I think made a big difference. So we have about 90% of our inventory is live on our website today, thanks to the work that we did during the pandemic. And that's continues to pay off. And now it's something that we can just maintain without having to go and take hundreds of pictures, behind the scenes. So I would say texting with our customers, which we use via Podium. Again, anyone on my team, no matter what demographic they are, can use Podium, and we text with our customers all day long. We're sending pictures. Sometimes they want a video chat. We can do that through Podium. So just being able to communicate with customers in a different way, I think that's really, it's a lot of the stuff started pre-pandemic, but the pandemic amplified it, sped it up, and now it's a permanent part of our day. So those would be the main ones I would say off the top of my head. And then just focusing on social media. I think we all did like the Facebook Live shopping events and things like that during the pandemic. And we don't necessarily do all that anymore, but I did focus every single day on our social media during that. And we grew our social media following tremendously just in the past 2 years. And we started a TikTok account. Our TikTok account has over 8,000 followers right now. And our Instagram page grew to over 16,000 followers. So those were things that I committed to that during the pandemic that have lasted. And now it's just a part of our day-to-day. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Let me unmute myself now, make sure you can hear me. Thank you very much. That was very interesting. All right, I have a couple of questions here. You know what? I'm going to throw one to Suzanne, then I'm going to throw one to Kate, and then we have a bunch more. I don't know we're going to get to all of them. But so Suzanne, I have a question here. I guess you had mentioned something about brands and brand commitment. So what is the importance of brand commitment?
Well, I don't think that we should change who we are based on the new customer. I think that's what they want to see, that you have had a brand commitment to your own store for a long period of time. We are specialists in antique and estate jewelry. We're going to continue to be specialists in antique and estate jewelry. You know, it's all about your experience and your expertise. It's all about your collection and what it looks like. And do you have a commitment to environmental sustainability? Do you have excellent customer service? What are the precepts that make your brand your brand? I think is really important to really focus that. It really has to shine through on your website. You can't waffle because you think, well, I have to appeal to this new customer. And you making those changes, I think, confuses a customer, because you obviously, if you've been in business as long as I have, you have a customer base and they have expectations. So it's all in managing those customers' expectations. This is what they want.
Very, very nice. I'm gonna throw a buzzword out there. I don't necessarily love buzzwords, but seeing that I heard it in last week's presentation, and you almost literally said what he said in terms of they use the word authentic voice. And it sounds like what you're talking about is that you really have to be authentic in your brand, or it doesn't really mean a whole lot. I see Kate shaking her head. So that means the next question is going to go to Kate. All right, Kate. So, Kate, we had a question here. I guess this is must be coming from a retail owner. They're asking, what can a business owner do today to attract and keep top talent?
Wow, that's a pretty loaded question. There's obviously that seems to be like the problem du jour everywhere. And I think that there's a lot of things. The most important thing I think to me is for people to stop worrying about what you can't do and start thinking about what you can. All right. I think a lot of, especially smaller businesses, tend to be intimidated by the fact that, people are hanging signs for $25 an hour to sling ice cream, things like that. But what do you have to offer? Unfortunately, retail in general has sort of gotten the ingrained idea that promoting means going from being a salesperson to a manager and things like that. And people want that ability to advance. Therefore, I don't have anything to offer them. When in fact, that really couldn't be further from the truth when it comes to what most people want. They want to be able to perfect a craft that they love. They want to be able to do something they love to do and be respected and appreciated for it. So you, as independent retailers, as smaller businesses, can do that in ways that big companies can't. Start looking for what you can do. Can you pay $25 an hour plus and offer health benefits and all of the rest of that? Maybe, maybe not. If you can't, don't be intimidated. What can you do? What can you offer that makes sense to people? Can you put together an incentive-based program that allows people to earn to a tremendous capacity, provided they're producing for you and you're earning too? I think that's really the biggest thing. And whatever package you put together has to be clean, simple, and straightforward. You have to be able to attract people before they even start to listen to it. What are your differentiating points? How do you make it easy to do the job? What makes your business different than everybody else's around you? You have to be able to differentiate both for your customers as well as for your employees. Keeping the people you have, I think, is probably harder for a lot of people now than ever before as well. If you don't know your employees, really know them, know what's important to them, and know why they work with you, you're going to have trouble hanging on to them, quite frankly. Why do people work for you? I love asking that question to a group of people. So Suzanne, I know has seen me do that and others, but why are you here? You're wonderful, brilliant, intelligent people. Why are you here? And what I want to hear from people in an environment like that is they take pride in your business. They take pride in that brand and that authenticity. They can't be authentic to your customers if they don't believe what you believe. I've heard it said that the mark of a great leader is to get an entire group of people to see the vision that you see. You got to be a great leader. That's the most important part of the whole thing.
I like that one. That's and that's a challenge. So, all right, thank you. All right, so we have a couple of more minutes before we send everybody off to our scavenger hunt. So I got a few more questions. Like I said, I'm sorry we won't get to all of them. I'm going to throw this one out to Trace. Because I think this might give a couple of specific things that people might love to hear. And, you might be uniquely qualified to speak about this because you have probably K2, but a pretty big overview. So the question is, what are retailers doing to capitalize on the consumer desire for jewelry that's different and unique? I guess you got
Yeah,
your
that's-
coolest store people, so you probably know all about this.
It's an interesting question because, as Suzanne was saying, everyone has such a different brand and thing that they do, and a lot of stores were not oriented around custom, but the thing that people are looking for is jewelry that's unique. It doesn't have to be only theirs. It can be something that just doesn't look like what everyone else is wearing, and so whether it's the way you source, or one of the things is just that people know that you do offer these services. We had a cool store that's running also in the April issue, that they had an entire manufacturing operation upstairs, but they still had customers come in and saying, well, do you do this work on premise? Because it wasn't visible to the customer. So they redesigned their store so that a small portion of the shop was visible in the showroom, and it's made a huge difference in their custom design sales. We've also, we just did a story in our March issue on how to sell custom jewelry, and a lot of jewelers are using virtual spaces to sell custom because of the technology we have now. We can go back and forth with people who are even out of state or even out of the country on the process of the design. And so, these are things to look into if you're a person that offers custom. And as I mentioned before, customization, just Stellar Counter Sketch and some of these other programs have allowed salespeople to be able to just make little tweaks in the design, use a little bit different metal, a little bit different gemstone or design aspect. And suddenly the customer has something that's custom, and it's not hard for a salesperson to put that together without involving a master goldsmith or something like that. So there are a lot of ways that retailers are responding to this, and it's paying off.
Very, very cool. All right. We'll have time. Let's see what we got. We got 5 minutes. All right, we'll try 2 more questions here. I'm going to actually follow that up with on Trace. I'm going to go to Alex, because the question here is, and then maybe Suzanne will throw in her 2 cents on that. Then we'll ask Kate one more question, and then we'll wrap it up. So the question here, Alex, would be following up on the question as to that. So what are the successful retail tactics that you've implemented or heard about that have increased sales, driven consumers to stores, websites, so on?
Yeah, there's so many different things. And again, there's like no cookie cutter answer, that like no one size fits all. You have to find what works for you. But some things that worked for us, or that I've seen others do, kind of falls in line. Have this whole word of omni-channel. Have you guys heard of that? Right? Like your digital presence should match your in-store presence, and the content that you're putting out there should all be cohesive. Like the experience they're seeing on your Instagram page should feel like they're in your store, and vice versa. And I think we've done a good job of that, and that's turned into sales for us. One example I could think of specifically is we actually had a customer drive all the way from the other side of the state of Florida to shop with us because of a video that we made about lab-grown diamonds. And so even though there probably were jewelers near him that sold lab-grown diamonds, he didn't trust those jewelers because they weren't giving him the education and the information that he wanted about lab-grown diamonds. So that was huge. We made a sale, obviously, thanks to that. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of some other specific examples. But so many times, like, people will reference a custom piece that we featured online, or if I post something on Instagram, I'm also putting it on our website. I try to post regular blog posts as well. So all of our information is always up to date. Our website is cohesive with our social media, and then our e-blasts go in line with that too. And I think Trace was talking about like the automated marketing. We put people down these funnels of communication from us so that they understand what they should be doing with us next. So if they buy an engagement ring, they're getting an email 30 days after the purchase saying, did you propose yet? How did she like it? Did it fit? We have a gift for her. Bring her back in. We want to meet her. And then 30 days after that, they're getting another email that says, hey, it's time to start thinking about wedding bands. Have you thought of that yet? You should come in and try on bands. And then 30 days after that, it's, have you thought about gifts for your bridesmaids? Have you thought about what you're going to wear on your wedding day? And thankfully now I have it all automated and I don't have to think about that stuff anymore. But and then SMS campaigns too have driven a lot of business for us. So we do the automated SMS messages. People had to opt in, but then they can get our SMS deals and campaigns that way. And that's got a lot better open rate than email does nowadays too. Yeah, so I mean, it's a little bit of everything, which is like the hard answer. So
All right.
it's like you have to do it all.
I'm like, yes, awesome, great information. Suzanne, can you give us like one to follow up on that? One thing you've done that maybe you found to be very, very successful?
Well, I think just mirroring on what Alex said is having that omni-channel so that you make sure that everything you do is cohesive and matches. So the website and the store and all your, your social media. But one of the things that we did in the store that's been very successful is dedicating one person to social media 100% of their time. And that's been really important. So we've been doing that for about 2 years. We started that right after the pandemic. And, we're really lucky because we've had an Instagram for 15 years. And so we've got a good following, but the consistency of the posts and what they look like and planning them out over a long period of time and everything that pairs with our website and all the imagery that we're using on our website and the campaigns that we're doing all are on the same channel. I think
Awesome.
That's really important.
Awesome. So what I'm going to do, Kate, I'm going to leave this open-ended, but we have 2 minutes. I need a minute for our closing. I'm going to give you 1 minute for maybe a takeaway for the audience, and then we'll wrap it up.
Well, short and sweet. I think Trace touched on this a little bit in a couple of different places. I think that what we know is with certainty is that what we're seeing with consumer behavior and buying patterns, particularly with fine jewelry and luxuries, is not going to change. People learn to behave differently in crisis, and the longer the crisis goes on, the more ingrained those behaviors become. So we have it, and we have this wonderful opportunity because of that. People have learned the value of inherent stores of value and things that last a long time. On the upside, they're going to keep buying fine jewelry, even though they're going to start to travel again and do all these other things. For some retailers on the downside, that means please be patient when you start seeing more and more cruise jewelry, because they're going to buy. Okay, they're going to buy permanent things to remind them of the experience. Okay, that's not a bad thing. We just, because we'll get our share. But the most important part of this is there's still going to be shrinkage in our industry, and it's going to come because these same people that are spending a lot of money are going to spend it with the places that pay attention to them, that make it highly personal. It's got to be one-on-one, and it's got to be highly personal. It can't be just kind of the this is what everybody gets sort of thing. They need to know that you care about them as individuals, and they will. The follow-up, the clienteling, we call it clienteling, call it what you want, but the follow-up is absolutely critical. That's where they're going to continue to shop. And the more that you can stay in front of them, and the more that you can differentiate yourself from everyone else as part of that one-on-one relationship, even if it's through your website, even though it's an e-commerce sale, you still have to maintain some connection. You'll continue to see the benefits of the changes in the consumer behavior patterns.
All righty. So I'm going to wrap it up now. I did notice it was an off-topic question, not related to the topic today. If that person would like to go to the plumclub.com website, hit the contact form, shoot me an email. I'll be happy to answer your questions. So, all right. That was a great amount of information. I would like to thank our panelists for being here today. A recording of this presentation will be available in the viewing area of the Jewelers Resource Center by the end of this week. Now, let me tell you about how to join our scavenger hunt to win great prizes like Dom Perignon champagne, Godiva chocolate baskets, in-store training, and an expert website analysis. And just so you know, we've had such a great response, and we want to give everybody a chance. We have doubled the amount of prizes available for this week's scavenger hunt. So once we're finished here, please go to the Jewelers Resource Center and look for the following items. In which room can you watch sales training modules? Number 2, in what room can you find today's metal prices? Number 3, in which area can you go to hear a podcast? Once you have the answer to these questions, email them with your name, company name, phone number, city and state to info@plumclub.com, or all of this information can be found by clicking on the large banner that is above and to the left of the auditorium entrance. And you have until Friday at noon to make your submission. And all of that information can also be submitted just by hitting our contact form. And you can get all that information there. So now please go and enjoy the Jewelers Resource Center and all the information it has to offer to help you to do more business. And of course, have fun with the scavenger hunt. And to our panelists, thank you for joining us today. What a great amount of information. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.